guys, I'm here with professional race car driver Maddie Turley, and of course you can see her amazing car in the background. But talk about how you got into this. This is such a cool sport.
So I got into drag racing a few years ago. My dad and some of his friends rented a track out for the weekend just to play around, and Dad said, "Why don't you go down with me?" He wanted it to scare me, but obviously you can tell that didn't happen. And I went down with him and just loved it ever since. And I went with another guy. He has a lot faster car than Dad has, or I had at the time. And we always call him Hellcat Joe because he owns a Hellcat. And Dad said, "Hey, you want you scare her? If she gets in this, it's going to be an expensive sport." And so he said, "Don't do it lightly. You know, make sure she gets the whole package." And I did. He wasn't taking me lightly, which was fine with me. And well, I think Dad's plan backfired because it turned out to be the best sport I've ever imagined.
I love that. I love it. Well, I mean, best sport you could have ever imagined, and you're so good at it as well. Talk about some of your accomplishments that you've been able to achieve within this realm and in this sport.
Well, one of the accomplishments, probably one of the biggest one, is Grassroots Ambassador, where I got to be at the Super Grit Nationals and help kids younger than I am or older than I am to get into racing. I got the People's Choice Awards by Women in Wheels. I won a trophy from Women in Wheels at Bristol, and top of my head, I think that's about all the awards I've received so far.
I love that. Okay, so I gotta ask, can we see inside this car? This is amazing. It is beautiful. You pulled it out, and I thought, oh my gosh, the sound of it and everything is spectacular. Talk about what you love the most about your car.
What I love most about my car? That is a hard question. I love everything about it.
Right.
Probably the sound of it, not gonna lie. It sounds, gets you energy just by sitting there.
What's that relationship like with your car in this sport?
Kind of like your best friend in a way, kind of like your co-pilot or your
That's awesome.
kind of like if you're working with somebody a bunch, this is kind of this is my office in a way.
I love that.
Kind of like my best friend in a way. In some spots, it kind of like the car talks to me and I talk to the car. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. And you have a lot of sponsors on this car right now, and some that I recognize as well, charities and different reasons why you race. Would love to know more about that as well.
Well, the biggest sponsor, the one I race on for DHDR, it's my race team, or my boss's race team. He hired me about a few years ago, and he called one day. Actually, this car was a daily driver at the time and a drag car, and he's like, "Hey, I left Don Schumacher on good terms. You know, if you're in the drag race community, you're gonna know who Don Schumacher is.
Awesome.
Sadly, he's passed away now, but he left." And a bunch of them left, and so David's like, "You know, I need a team. I need somebody to come race with." And so he called me up and said, "Would you like to be my driver for a car?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a drag car." He said, "We're just going to take your car and make it to a drag car. You're going to have to get you another daily driver." And okay.
Amazing. It sounds like such a journey. And so what keeps you going, like that fuels you through this, like past the drag racing, past the speed, past the car? What keeps you going in this sport?
The people in the drag race community, the good Lord, the people that come up and they said they've read my story and they come back the next day, and they're like, "We had no idea anything about it," and that's the driver. Even though we're in the car and the car is extremely loud, you can just feel the people watching you, and you feel them, the vibrations and the energy that comes off of. We feed off them.
That's amazing. Well, I'm sure you empower so many women to be in this sport, because I'm sure it's not every day that you meet someone like yourself that is in this sport. What do you hope to accomplish in the future?
Probably win a Wally. That's the biggest thing you can do.
Yeah. So what is a Wally? Tell me what that is.
A Wally is a trophy that it looks like a little guy.
Okay.
It's made by Wally Parks, and it's about that tall. Some are bigger, some are a lot bigger. Depends what category you run, and it's like the biggest trophy you can get in racing. That if you win your race, whatever you're in, whether it's Indianapolis, Bristol, wherever it is, sometimes they'll have a Wally, and I've been after that Wally. I've not got it yet, but I've been after it for a long time.
That's awesome, Maddie. I love it. And so I've got to ask as well, we're talking about the car and everything, why Mopar?
Why Mopar? Well, funny story, but if I had any other car, my dad would beat my honey and all. But we always are Mopar people, but Mopar has always been the fastest car in any of the brands. Like the 170 Demon that they come out just a few years ago, they went to go put it through the NHRA test to see if it could be a car to drive, and it was too fast for the NHRA, so they banned it instantly. So Dodge has always been the fastest car on the property. There's we were watching an article not too long ago, and it was a cop that come to like the sheriff's department come to Dodge, like, hey, we need something in our cars to catch up to your cars, because 99% of the time the people we're trying to catch is in your all's cars. That's just how fast Dodge is. Fast.
Wow.
It's kind of unexplainable of how fast they can get these cars to go.
That's awesome. Well, last question for you. What word of advice would you have for young women who want to get into this sport?
You're gonna have to have thick skin, because some women, and that's not a bad thing. Some have thicker skin than others. Men have a lot more thicker skin than a lady does. It's a men-dominant sport. So when a woman or multiple people come in, they're kind of looking at you like, well, you're not a guy. You're a woman. It's harder for a woman than it is for a man to get into the sport. It was hard but easy at the same time for me to get in the sport, if that makes any sense. Yes, David took me on, but the respect I've had from older people, older men, when I've raced them, they get to talk to me now. Used to, they wouldn't, say a word. They'd be like, well, who is she?
Right.
I'm just a young guy. I'm just a green person. They think I don't have that much in the sports, which I've only been racing for just about 2 or 3 years, nothing much. And so when you get the older people to come up to you and say that you're a good racer, really means a lot.
That's awesome. Well, we cannot wait to see you at the Women's Show. You're such an inspiration to me, to women out there as well. We can't wait to see you at the Women's Show. And girl, you're going to win that Wally.
I hope so.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great.